So what's going on? What's the Pat story? I love your LinkedIn profile, Pat. And I love the leadership and the keynote speaking, and you've got a bit of a New Zealand background there, I hear. And
Yeah, I am Australian, but I lived over there for 20 years.
did you?
And
Right.
yeah, came back about 3 years ago. So I was very unwell.
Oh,
Um, so I'm much better now. So back in
mm,
the groove of things. And yeah, I was a registered nurse for 16 years.
mm.
Then by default, when I left nursing, ended up creating my own video production studio, which I
Oh,
had for 11 years in Grafton, New South Wales.
wow.
Um, Always wanted to be an artist, but my mother said get a proper job, so that's how I went nursing. And so video production was just, it was just that opportunity to be
Mm.
fully self-expressed across so many platforms. And we ended up freelancing for the news, 2020, 60 Minutes. So, really exciting, diverse business. And, I think I really learned to be daring. You can't really be daring in nursing. You've got to be safe.
Right. Yes,
So
yes.
this was an opportunity to, step out and step up. And, I learned persistence.
Mm.
Um, and it was back in the day when video was king,
Mhm.
as opposed to everything digital now.
So how's
So it
it
was,
changed, just in saying that, Pat? How has it changed? So you're saying everything's digital now. We don't use video as much. Oh, you're saying online video rather than like a big shoulder job.
yeah, well, yes, there's that as well. You can get an amazing level of quality footage, um, even off your iPhone now,
Mm.
compared to, the big commercial cameras and that kind of thing. So, but I think it was clunky back then. It was videos, not little digital discs and that kind of thing. But anyway, I just loved that. And the height of success there was I wrote a 5-year plan to go full broadcast, and we achieved that in 2.5.
Mm.
And, that was just through sheer focus and persistence. And probably the highlight of that whole business was, I forget what year it was, but we won the New South Wales Tourism Award. And when I entered and I saw who'd, been the winners before, it was like, some big players there. I'm just a small studio in Grafton. So I thought, well, how am I going to get the edge? And so I quite like some of Stephen Covey's work. So, begin with the end in mind. So I thought, right, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write the speech I'll give on awards night, and then a backward plan. And I won. Long story. And the business was quite diverse. We weren't really tourism, but I had to make a convincing case for how does what we do link to tourism. So I just had post-it notes everywhere in the studio. How does this job link to tourism? So everything that came in, whether it was covering a flood, a bank robbery, home invasion, a local town event, it's like, how does this all
Wow.
tie into what we're doing? And then, about 3 months out, that's when I sent my submission, and I had the answers, and we won.
Isn't that great? Good on you.
Yes.
Did that
So
help your business then?
pardon?
Did that help your business then?
Absolutely. We'd won a lot of other awards as well. And we positioned ourselves to be, it wasn't like accessing a big commercial studio. So we were much more available to the public, and I really capitalised on. There were 400 businesses in town, and I worked hard with several projects to unite those businesses. And all of the networks said, "Oh, you'll never get 400 people working together, Pat." And we didn't, but we got about 230. And so we did these huge shared advertising campaigns, and they just created. I couldn't believe the first one. Everyone had said, "It's not going to work, Pat." And I said, "Just give me the timeline." And then I had a friend make a jingle for Grafton. And then we just went on foot and saw every business. And the first 50 were quite hard. But once we got about 50 people on board and they could see the concept and hear the jingle, people started talking, and away we went. And that was there was a bit of a downturn in that period, which is why I kind of went looking for how can I, I'm suffering because of this, because people aren't producing commercials. How can I feed into that? So yep, and that was amazing, just amazing. I had the local radio owner come to my shop, and he walked in, and I thought, "Oh, this will be good." And he said in a really condescending tone, "So, what do you think you're doing with this promotional campaign, Pat?" And I wasn't particularly feeling powerful, but I just said, "I'm changing the dynamic." No? And we did.
Wow.
So I think there's, so I have this, like that strategy served me really well. So that's how I do all my planning. Begin with the end in mind, do at least one thing a day to take you towards the result. And the other is, and I think 95% of people have this problem, it's how do we stay steadfast in our commitment to fulfill on that when life happens and we get buffeted around. So, and that's where finding that question for me was, how does this link to tourism? That's what I'm going to ask for everything I see. How does this link to tourism? And, helping others find that question has been, a part of my coaching to think what they haven't been thinking.
That is so cool. Find the question. No, seriously. That's such a great strategy. Yes. Begin with the end in mind, do one thing a day, stay steadfast, and just keep answering the question. And what is it about what you're doing that's going to take you towards your goal, and how can I get there quicker? And what is the question that we're answering for our clients, for the market, even for ourselves to a degree, Pat? Oh, that is so
and
cool.
The whole thing of, there's sometimes when you focus, you can narrow down too much and you miss what's in the periphery. So for me, it's a bit like breathing. How do we, how do we accommodate that? Because we don't want to miss that, because that could be really good, whatever that was, but still maintain this. So, strange as it sounds, improv acting has helped me be in that space.
Right.
To be, because improv acting helps you get rid of the censor.
Right.
So you're free. First thought is correct is the first rule of improv. So as you would know, we tend to be, I better not say that. If I say that, someone will get upset. Or, I better not even say that. So we went on the second or third thought, which is actually a couple of distances back from the real truth. And we missuggest. Ad agencies don't have that centre, right? Everything goes on the table, and that's where they get the amazing ideas and why it works, because nothing's ever wrong.
That's
most, Yeah.
That's really cool, Pat. It's funny, talking about what people think, and I've said it today already to a guy in the gym earlier this morning, and I was actually, believe it or not, it was a strange thing. I had a suit coat on over a t-shirt instead of a dress shirt, and he said, "Can you do that?" And I said, "Mate, you can do anything you want if you don't care what people think."
Yeah.
And it's just about having the courage to be a bit unique and to be yourself, and to be out there and not let fear stop you. I think, Pat, is the secret. Not let other people's view of you stop you.
Yes.
And you know what I'm finding, Pat, over the more I sort of our business grows too, is that there's going to be people that don't like you and that don't agree with you.
Absolutely.
No matter what you're doing, whether you're going forward, backwards, sideways, upwards, downwards, you're always going to upset someone along the journey. And I think resilience is a big part of being in business. And I'm sure you probably found that over time when you had to deal with people like a radio station. You're probably taking half their business off them now in the marketing space. And they're going to be a bit put out by that.
Yes. And that's actually a really good feeling. It's like, here I am, I'm a small player, really. I'm not MGM or, Fox.
That's it.
And you must be really worried to have left your little ivory tower to, come down and our business was called Take One Productions, and we committed we're never going to do anything twice.
Oh.
We're never going to go back and do a job a second time. Right. We're going to get it right first time. And that worked. And most people in that industry dress pretty cash, jeans and t-shirt, runners, and I've always been a little bit plump, and my ex-partner was really, really skinny.
Right.
So we had as our signature look Laurel and Hardy, and we wore the black and white and the ties, the Laurel and Hardy tie, and our studio was set up like a bit like a museum, and we ran old Charlie Chaplin film. We had a lot of historical kind of equipment. So it was an eyepiece when people walk past to look in and capture, history, times gone by, all the no talkies and that. And we had a penny farthing, and we used that in a lot of photo shoots. And we'd arrive, right, we'd follow the police on a chase down the highway or something, drug chase or something, because we'd have heard about it. And we'd step out of the car and we're just looking $1 million, not like the other news crew. And so it was just a point of distinction. And, we endeavoured to look like we melded into the environment we walked into. We were probably overdressed for those kind of things.
That's okay.
But you'd take your coat off. And, those things worked really, really well for me. I had that business 11 years. And, the capacity to, I believe fortune favours those who dare. You don't always win every time, but in your outreach, like while I was in New Zealand, I did some work the other day, this little activity someone had sent me, and I went back and counted the years I was in New Zealand. I got published every month. So I added up what that would have, because it cost me nothing, what it would have cost me, and it was nearly $1 million. So who do we need to be being in order to, get heard and noticed that much?
Who do we need to become?
Yeah.
Wow. I'm just writing as we talk.
And, when I started Joyology, the world was so not ready for that.
Right, yeah, I was going to ask you about that, your new business venture. How long has Joyology been around?
2001.
Holy dooly.
So, in the beginning, I was in New Zealand then, and I'd be cold calling business, especially. In the health sector, they weren't too phased. They're kind of in that soft space anyway. But business is a little bit different, and a typical response would be, "Look, Pat, I'm sure you're a really nice lady, but we actually have fun Friday after work." However, my focus has changed to be much more than humour, although humour is a big component. And by 2006, I worked with a company who implemented a 5-year client intimacy program. And that was the cementing contract. It was like, yes, it's happening. Here it is. There's a shift occurring in terms of leadership and how people are seeing the value of their employees and how they can foster that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And yeah,
sorry, just a bit going on in the office.
Yeah. And from there on, things just boomed, really. Well, it began 2004.
Yeah.
I had enough for a brand by then. And then 2006, that company was kind of the pivotal moment for acceleration. Yeah.
Isn't that great? Good on you. Awesome. Good on you. So you've done well. Shit, great. It's a great business story, Pat. Yeah, I hear that. I saw on your LinkedIn profile. Not a lot of people have got humour written there.
No.
So I'd love to know about that. What's humour mean, Pat, as part of the leadership sort of process and in business? And
well, it's not about being a good joke teller.
Oh, right.
Although that's good, to be able to tell,
as long as they're appropriate, I'm sure.
Yeah, or not.
Or not.
One of the things I believe, to be good-humoured is to be appropriately responsive or not. Right. But if you're going to choose not, you have to have such a fine listening of who you're relating to, and there needs to be relationship and context. So there needs to be the high trust environment.
Of course.
People won't make light-hearted banter if they're in a low trust environment. They won't relate. Right? They just can't, And, I met 2 business leaders in New Zealand whom I just love, and neither of them had an office, no dedicated office. So they just managed by walking around, and I learned so much from them. One of them was with that 5-year contract. It's like, how are you doing that, and what are you doing? And so they just got to know their people intimately. What that client intimacy program was about. And so if you know that I lost my first child, and a few years back I had breakup and other things, then if you have some heart and some empathy, then you're going to be cognizant of that, and will afford me just another level of appreciation, and I call it geniality. My mentor in New Zealand was Mike Hutchison, who was MD of Saatchi & Saatchi, and he's the most genial man I know. He's like a bit of a cross between Santa Claus and Peter Ustinov.
Interesting.
And I just loved him for that, because it was like, you're the epitome of how I want other people to be. You're still so clever. It's not interfering with your intellect or your business acumen. How you be in your work, because people just love you.
Wow.
Because people admire, respect, and productive, and so not everyone has the capacity for that. But you can learn to be more genial. You can learn to have more empathy. Some people are naturally empathic,
Yeah.
But you can learn it also.
Oh, absolutely. And I like what you said about the high trust environment. Like, I don't think that's just going to encourage just a humorous workplace or a fun workplace. I think that's just going to encourage just a fantastic place to work. If you can, feel trusted and be trusting of other people, like that high trust piece is really important, especially from a leadership perspective, as you know. Yeah,
and
cool.
I think along this pathway, I've really seen that if I'm going to step into this place and espouse that, then I've got all these things that I believe that are a little bit off the ordinary. So I have to be really congruent with that. So, everywhere people go, they need to see more evidence of, she's like that here, she's like that there. Oh, my goodness, I'll be ready again. And the results around it. And I didn't have any money when I started this business in 2001. None. Totally cleaned out from a relationship breakup. And I just committed, right, I'm going to find myself the cleverest mentor in the country. So I did. And here's where, when you push to the edge, creativity, believe it or not, kicks in. So I finally get my appointment to go and see Mike Hutchison, who was the guy I wanted to be my mentor. And then I'm terrified. It's like, Saatchi office, amazing place, I'm broke. And I want to make a pitch and So I had some coaching around that. And then in the middle, a little bottle came of Dettol. And it just sparked an idea. So I took the Dettol, a makeup sponge, 2 cotton buds, and a Band-Aid, and put them in a little cellophane wrap and in a little treasure chest thing. And when we met, I gift Mike with this box, and he lifts the lid and lifts it out, and he said,
"Thank you,
Pat."
I've just lost you, Pat, unfortunately. Oh, what a shame. What a shame. I was looking forward to that story too, team. I wonder what's going on there. It's okay. We'll see if we can't get Pat back. I think we've lost her. Anyway, if you're tuning in, listening to this, it looks like we might have lost Pat. Let me go and see if I can get on the internet and track her down through. Where's my internet? So there it is. Right, let's have a look. Maybe Pat's back. Oh, you're back.
Yes.
Great. Have you got some internet stuff going on down there?
I don't know.
Okay, now I lost you from holding up the cellophane wrapping stuff, and he said, "What's that?"
Yeah, and I said, "Well, Mike, I'm not here to sponge off you. You don't have an idea. It has a couple of applications, and I don't want it to be a Band-Aid job."
Oh.
Blah, 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 blah. This is what I think Joyology is going to be. Would you be my mentor, and would you help me source funding? And so 5 minutes into the interview, he just said yes and yes.
Holy dooly. Isn't that great, huh?
So, and there's like some strategy, there's some creativity, but there's also just going with, I was quite challenged to go there, but do it anyway. The worst that can happen, I have a philosophy, the worst that can happen is you're back in the corridor.
Yeah,
and
that's
the corridor's fine. There's nothing wrong with the corridor.
That's right.
And he's my friend through to today.
Is that right? Nearly 20 years. Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Good on you, Pat. Good on you. Great to see. Hey, very quick one for you. So I'm doing another a live with a lady this afternoon. So we do a live every Friday afternoon, and we talk about relationships and leadership and all things sort of interpersonal skills. Yep. Our topic for the Savi is disruption in leadership. Yes. So, yeah, I know it's an interesting topic, isn't it? So with AI coming and technology coming and all sorts of changes, I suppose, in this space for leaders going on, and how we're going to lead some of this stuff. What are you seeing from a disruption perspective out there in the leadership space, Pat, that you could share with people?
I love tuning into Gary V every now and again.
Yep.
He's just recently appointed a chief heart officer.
A chief what?
Heart officer.
Oh.
And her role is to build empathy amongst his 700 people.
And I notice on your profile you have a chief empathy officer. That's pretty cool.
Yes. So, and I did some work last year with a very big company, 26,000 staff, and I just finished a case study on that work. And one of the things that happened was the deliverables all were great. I got 3.5 and 4 out of 4 from every group all around the country. And for the last presentation, I got an email, and one of the leaders was saying, I had several people who were a bit, confronted and triggered by some of the activities that you, were leading. And so here's the thinking. I was just delighted, because it just really cemented for me, that's the intersection I want to work at. I want to work at that intersection, because those people in their key roles are all leaders and managers, 550 of them in this big business, 26,000 staff. If they're triggered and confronted by interpersonal little things that I was doing in the room, who would they be if they weren't? So we've got to shift our thinking around, but they were triggered and he was still upset 2 days later. Well,
that's great.
Awesome.
Oh, good on you, Pat. I love it, girl. I love it. Well, look, thank you. Thank you so much for chatting today. I've recorded this. I'll probably get it transcribed. Awesome. I'll send you a copy.
And we should do another one, because I haven't given you time to share much about yourself.
Oh, don't worry about that, girl. No, there's not much of a story, mine. It's only a little story. It's nowhere near as much fun as yours. So we will do it another time. We'd love to. And I'll be in touch, and I'll get this down to you, and we'll put it out there into the world. And they're amazing, these things, actually, Pat. I did one with a lovely lady recently, and she just got a job. She was in the throes of moving organisations. And get this, her new employer said, "It was so easy for me to hire you. I felt like I knew you from your LinkedIn video that we did just exactly like this." And she said, "I know what your values are. I know what you feel about leadership. I know what, how you operate." Isn't that amazing? So these little interactions are so powerful. And really, really cool fun to do, and really valuable, and good shares with the world, right? All of you, and like I'm a prolific note taker, so I wrote down all of the stuff that you said. And so I reckon there's even a LinkedIn post in that about point of distinctions and fortune favours those who dare, and high trust environment, and all that good stuff that you mentioned. So really grateful that you could take the time today. So really appreciated you coming on board.
Yeah, I'm glad I connected. Thank you so much.
Good on you, girl. All right, I'll leave you to it.
Okay.